Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the GrowCast Show. I'm Brenda Tan, your host for today, and we have a truly exciting conversation coming right up. In the studio, we have Lille Low, who's a Senior Marketing Director from ERA Realty Network. Well, there's so much that we can learn from her, so let's just dive straight into the questions. What would be your advice to someone starting their property investment journey?
Okay, this piece of advice, actually, I heard from one of the seniors from my company, which I find to be very true. His advice is this: to buy as young as you can, as big a property as you possibly can, and the best class as you can. So meaning if you buy young, that means you will be able to have a longer runway to maximize your loans. And if you buy as big as possible, of course, if you can imagine if the profits of a 1,000 square foot property definitely cannot compare with the 2,000 square foot property, right? Because of course the profits will be magnified. And thirdly, let's say if you can buy a semi-D, then just buy the semi-D and don't settle for a terrace. So I think this is a very good piece of advice that if you're starting out in your property journey.
Why do you prefer an investment like properties over stocks?
Okay, first of all, properties, they fulfill a very important need we have. We all need somewhere to live in, right? So it fulfills that very need. Secondly, it is very predictable. It just goes up every year, maybe not in a linear fashion, but compounded over the long term, 20 to 30 years, it grows averagely at about 3% per year, according to the PPI, the Property Price Index. Okay, so it moves up like clockwork. There's no need to predict, not like in the stock market. So recently, the US stock market just went up by 23% within 2 weeks. And this was the fastest price rally in the history of the US stock market. Could we have predicted that? I don't think so. Did anyone predict that? Maybe a small handful of people. So it is very unpredictable. Okay, recently I also bought Meta at about $600. Okay, I believe in the fundamentals of the company. I think it will go up. I think it will double. But when? I don't know. Could it go to zero? Yes, possibly. But with property, there's not much need to predict. And there isn't this fear or worry that it will go down to zero. I don't think it will go down to zero. Yeah. So that's why I much prefer property investment over stocks.
What is your game plan for investing in properties in Singapore?
Actually, my game plan, to break it down is very simple. Just take the analogy of slot machine. Okay, if you were to put 400,000 inside the slot machine, in 22 years' time, it will spit out $2.8 million. So this is the end game for me. This is the grand prize at the end of my property investment journey. And I hope this for everyone too.
How many properties do you currently own in Singapore?
In Singapore, right now, I have 2 properties. One is fully paid up, and the other one I hope to pay up in maybe 5 to 10 years' time. Hopefully, it can give me a source of income when I retire or start to take things a bit slower.
How do you determine if a property is worth investing?
Okay, actually, I have come up with a framework. What I did was that I took all the highest growing properties. For example, I took the top 10 fastest growing properties in 2 estates, Punggol and Sembawang. Then I looked at what factors they have in common. And then I will reverse engineer this process. And then the next property I buy, of course, I will make sure that it has those factors that all these top growing fastest growing condos have. So for example, a lot of people say that, if you want to buy something that's fast growing, you have to buy near MRT, walking distance to MRT, you have to buy near reputable school, you have to buy near a very major shopping mall, and you have to buy near somewhere where there is a future MRT, preferably, or future transformation. But after doing that study, it's a study that spanned about 10 years of transacted prices. I realized that all these factors are not important, not very important. Only 2 out of 3 of those top 10 properties have these factors that we thought are important. So yeah, it is not that important. Instead, what is important is that all these 7 out of 10 condos of all these high performing condos, they are, number 1, at least 300 units. Number 2, they are near a primary school or primary schools. And these primary schools are not necessarily very reputable ones. All of them are near supermarket. Although people think that, that is such a given, right? Yeah, but it's true. All of them are near supermarkets, not major malls. And all of them, this is something that all of them have in common. They are all near areas where there are a lot of HDB upgraders. So there are a lot of, a big pool of ready buyers that will buy these condos. So these are the factors that are important.
If I have 200,000, would paying off my mortgage loan be a wise thing to do? And if not, right, how best would you advise, I use a sum of money to grow my wealth?
For me, I always take the maximum property loan. If I have 200K, I will not pay off my loan. I will perhaps maybe use it to dollar cost average the US stock market, where traditionally is also giving about 10% returns annually. I mean, over the long term of about 20 years. So I will diversify it instead of paying off the property loan, because I find the interest rates right now, it's still very reasonable. Yeah, so I will rather have this 200K work harder for me in other areas.
How did you get started in the real estate?
Okay, so after I finished my law degree, I went to a real estate company, and then I was a management trainee there. Then I realized that, I'm really not really cut out for the corporate ladder, because a lot of politics and, just not my cup of tea. And then I also realized that a lot of all the property agents there were like quite effortlessly making 6 figures every month, which is a lot of money. So I thought to myself, hey, maybe, perhaps I could try my hand at that. Yeah, and that's how I started.
Is now a good time to buy property because interest rates are so high?
Okay, actually, before I address this question, I just like to say that we have to place in the right perspective how interest rates play a part, right? Because okay, for example, let's say I have a business that I can get into that can give me $1 million in profit every year. So, but of course, the flip side is that I have to pay business costs. I even have to pay high income tax. But will I say that, I won't go into this business that will make me $1 million because I need to pay income tax? I won't, right? Even if my income tax is a very high amount, let's say even maybe like half of the profits, I will still do this business because of the profits it can bring me. So, for example, for real estate, the interest rates has been hovering between 1% to 4% this last 20 years. With most of the time, it's going at about 1% to 2%. Maybe the highest it went was, in my memory, was about maybe near the COVID period when it went up to about 4%, and then it quickly moderated again, and now it's about between 1% to 2% again. So I find that it's very reasonable rate to pay, and we should not be so fixated upon the fact that interest rates is very high, because I find it to be manageable at between 1% to 2%.
Rental income versus capital appreciation, which is better in Singapore?
I think for me, definitely it's the capital appreciation. The reason why I buy property, and a lot of people buy properties, is because they want the capital appreciation. That means every year it will average rate that it goes up is about 3% according to the property price index. Okay, so that is the grand prize at the end of the whole property journey for me. Rental income will only be important, let's say, after I finish paying the loan. And of course, I depend on this as a source of income. This fully paid property, I can rent it out, and it gives me a very good source of passive income. So rental income will only be important to me at the end of the property journey. So while I'm servicing the loan, if I have excess income, that's a bonus. But I don't go into property investment to get rental income.
Does it make sense for me to actually rent while waiting for my new launch condo to TOP?
For me, the reason has to be very compelling, because it is quite inconvenient that you have to make 2 moves. First, you must sell your house, and then you get your down payment. You buy the condo, then you don't have a house already, right? So you must rent for 4 years until the new launch condo gets ready. So there's a lot of hassle, I find. You have to get used to a new environment, and maybe your family also has to adjust and all that. So there's some disruption. I will find maybe 2 circumstances which I will do that if it's me. Number one is, let's say this new launch is built on where my secondary school used to be. It gives me so much good memories and such good vibes. I just want to live there. I mean, I've heard of this from buyers before. So it's very, very sentimental kind of reason. So, okay, maybe it's worth doing that double move for. Or secondly, this new launch is going at very compelling price. Very, very good price. Example, the resale there is now going about 1,008 PSF. Wow, this new launch only at $2,000 or 2,002 PSF. So very, very attractive price. So I may consider doing that if it's for these two reasons.
Is buying a private property near a prestigious school a good choice?
It is a good choice, but it shouldn't be the only choice. If you want to buy a condo that grows fast, there are other criteria that's important also. So for example, like earlier, I've mentioned that I've done a study of all the top growing condos in 2 estates. I found out that there are other factors that are very, very important as well. Like the development has to be at least 300 units. It has to be near supermarket. It has to be near primary school, that's for sure. But it doesn't have to be a reputable one necessarily. Yeah. So I would think, yeah, it is good to have, but not the sole criteria.
Will Singapore property always appreciate?
Yes, it will. A lot of people, we all know that the property price will appreciate, but we don't really take the time to find out why it keeps going up. There are many reasons. I think the most important ones will be, number one, like inflation. The inflation rate is about 2% every year. So property prices grow at about 4% every year, averagely. Of course, there are times when it goes up by a lot, 8%, and then for the next few years, it is flat. On the average, it rises by about 4% every year. So it's a very, very good hedge against inflation of 2%. So other factors that will make the property prices go up will be like increase in population. Okay, I think this one everyone knows that the government has plans to increase the population up to 6.9 million in 2030. That this one, I think 10 years ago, they've announced it. But actually at our current population of 6 million, we are facing a shortage of homes. If we just do a simple calculation, 6 million people divided by 3.09, which is the persons per household, we will actually need 1.94 million homes. But right now, we only have 1.6 million homes. So there is a shortage of 340,000 homes. So that's why as population increases, definitely the demand for homes will increase and the price will follow suit.
What do you tell your clients who have set a fixed budget of 1.5 million to buy their condo?
I will tell them to faster go and buy now, because especially if they are families, they will need a certain size, right? At least 1,000 square feet and at least 3 bedrooms, for their family. So their prices are rising every year. So they may not be able to buy something that fits this at 1.5 anymore, that fits, the budget of 1.5 anymore with the kind of necessary space. And I'm sure they also want it to be a condo that is also fast growing or at least grows at the usual rate, so that at the end of 20 to 30 years, they will be able to reap the grand prize of accumulating the 7-figure returns.
Is buying a potentially en bloc unit a good idea?
Personally, I don't think so, because there are like too many moving parts. Then you have to deal with all this, the existing owners. Do they really want to sell? There are a lot of underlying problems that we don't know about, just looking at the condo on the surface, a lot of legal complexities. So I have clients who bought a particular condo waiting for it to en bloc, and it's about 20 years ago and it still hasn't en bloc. Yeah, so I wouldn't do that myself, and I wouldn't advise anyone to buy a condo and wait for the en bloc.
Freehold versus 99 years. What's the pros and the cons?
Freehold, of course, on the surface, it looks very desirable, right? Compared to 99-year leasehold, right? I will ask them, why do they want to buy the freehold? If the reason is because they want to give it to their son, their grandchildren, and their descendants, then okay, of course, maybe freehold will be a good choice. But if they're looking for something that is high performing, then I would advise them to go for the 99-year leasehold, because somehow 99-year condos, they have attributes that make it grow faster. Maybe because they appeal to the broader market, like families. Families, they value convenience, nearness to primary school, supermarket, all these conveniences. And a lot of freehold properties don't really fulfill such a criteria. Yeah, so if you're you just want to hold on to this property forever and pass on to your descendants, yeah, then maybe buy the freehold. But if you're looking for something that performs a bit better, then get the 99-year leasehold.
If I sell high now, does that mean I'm also buying high?
Properties, in the long run, they grow in price, but at different rates of growth. So, for example, if you sell your this property is under 10 years old, so most probably you're selling at a peak already, because from what I find is that property prices, they grow the most in the first to 10 years, within 10 years of TOP. So if you sell within 10 years, maybe you would have sold it at a peak. Very good. You have two choices. You can buy another condo that may also grow at the same rate of this previous condo, okay, if you have the budget, because they tend to cost a bit more. Or you can buy something not as expensive, but the rate of growth maybe not as high, like the 5%. So maybe if you buy something a bit older, like maybe from 11 to 20 years old, it will not grow as much as the very new, very young condos that are below 10 years old. So will you be buying at a high? Not necessarily. You can choose to buy something that doesn't grow that quickly. If you don't want to pay so much for your second property.
What should I choose, EC or condo?
For me, I don't have a lot of hard and fast rule regarding this. As long as they can fulfill my criteria, which I've mentioned just now, those 5 to 6 criteria, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's a private condo or is it a resale EC.
Are there any new developments in the north that are worth investing in?
I think many people are looking forward to the Hougang residences in Hougang Central area. I think it ticks all the boxes of a high growth condo. Also, it is there's going to be a new MRT interchange at the Hougang MRT. So this one, I think it will be very, very attractive. But again, have to look at the launch price. It has to be reasonable.
What is the common issue that buyers or sellers come to see you with?
A lot of them, they are facing an internal struggle because they don't know whether they should upgrade or not. They're always asking themselves, why should I buy condo? I'm really comfortable where I am. Maybe a HDB. Why should I upgrade? Maybe I think because they don't see the ultimate goal of attaining that 7-figure after 22 years, which that will form a very, very comfortable retirement nest egg for them. They don't see that what property investment can do for them. Like just now what I mentioned, which is, let's say if you will let's say the subject is a 1.5 million condo, you put in 400K as a down payment, you just live in it happily married, give birth to your children, advance your careers there, and 22 years later when you sell, you will be able to reap this 2.8 million. Okay, maybe they don't see this goal, the grand prize at the end of the property journey. So instead, maybe they focus on things like, interest rate is very high. No, I shouldn't buy. They focus on headlines, which there are many headlines that scare us to death. Example, in the last 10 years, headlines like, the property market will fall another 5 to 15% in the next 1 year, or it was going to fall every 4 to 5% every quarter. So all these headlines appear to be very, very true at that time, and of course it's very scary. But what happened after that is, yes, the market did dip a bit. It did dip, okay, but then after that it still recovered and went on its merry way of rising steadily, slowly but steadily. Yeah, so people are maybe they are more fixated on the wrong things like high interest rate, all these headlines, so they don't really see the goal. Then second thing is, I find they don't really understand how to get to that goal, because they don't understand that what drives property prices in the long run, like what I've mentioned just now, population growth, our GDP, all the transformation that's going on in so many parts of Singapore. Yeah, so maybe they don't see the goal and they don't understand how to get to the goal. So this is what is stopping them. They may know, or some, they know these facts, okay? There are people who know these facts, but they have very deep-seated fear, maybe passed on by their parents. I have people who are completely very eligible to upgrade, both of them good jobs, 10K, 12K each, and then they're living in a HDB. So I told them, they are the best candidates to upgrade. So they were at the shore flat, and then the mother is pacing up and down beside them. I don't understand, why you want to buy? You have the 5-room, very good, high floor, so nicely renovated. Why must you upgrade? So internally, they have a lot of fear about upgrading, maybe passed down from their parents or relatives. Yeah. So this is what I see these three things are the most common things that stop people from wanting to upgrade, even though they can.
What's an interesting fact about loans that people may not know?
So let's take the example of 1 million property, okay? Let's say you want to buy this property, that's $1 million, all right? So your down payment is about 250,000, okay, 25%, right? Then let's say you hold it for 10 years, okay? The money that you put in will double, even though the property prices only rise by 3% every year, which is what has been proven to be true by the property price index, right? Every year, like averagely 3%. So how this works is, the two wonderful things are at work, okay, when you take this property loan, okay, the value of the property goes up, okay, but the outstanding loan keeps coming down because you're paying it off, right? So that's why you will reap this in between. So when you, let's say you put in 250,000, okay, I've done the calculations, let's say you rented this out for 10 years. Of course, you need to incur some costs like property tax, maintenance, get agent to rent this property out, right? All these things, let's say we add in 100K. So the outlay is 350K, okay, for this house, this 1 million house. And 10 years later, it grew to 30%, okay? So when you sell, you will get back 800,000, okay? 800,000, but of course you must deduct that 350K you've already put in, that is your capital, it will go to you. And on top of that, you still get that 450K. So isn't it good? So your outlay, the money that you put in double, even though property prices went up by 3%, only 3% every year. So this is one thing that not many people realize.
Well, thank you for your beautiful insights. We've learned a lot from you today. And that's all we have for today's conversation.